Hey guys, this is Locke. This is going to be my updated L plus selector guide, and I'm going to specifically cover what you're going to do if you already have Cosette. The L plus selector guide that I'm talking about refers to this item that you get when you have 90 stars. Um, if you don't have Cosette, you should get Cosette. I can't stress that enough. I think she's going to be used for a very long time. Even the other DPS units that come close to her, maybe like Miss Velvet or Shane, they have significant disadvantages compared to Cosette. One of them being that they have a much shorter range, so they can't stay out of danger as well as Cosette can. And the second thing is both of them teleport towards the boss as well. Like they teleport behind the enemy and try to attack that way. So sometimes while you're using skills, you might be put in a spot where you don't want to, and you might end up dying. With Cosette, you don't have that problem. So she's just, if you don't have Cosette, I 120% recommend that you get Cosette. Now, if you do have Cosette, what do? You only have three other choices. So I'm going to talk about all of them. And I think the easiest one to talk about is going to be Shane. I do not recommend getting Shane for two reasons. The first reason is that, first of all, you already get her for free from, the 2 million account reward like this one. And you might be a bit away from it right now. Like maybe you're at like 1 million or 1.2 million or something, but eventually you will get there. And now with the enhancement system added to the game, you can get there even faster because enhancements does add quite a bit of CP to all of your units, all of your gears, and so you can get there sooner than you think. If it's going to take you, say, 2 months to get Shane, I think that's still okay because to get an L plus unit usually takes longer than that. I think for free to play players, you can estimate about once every 6 months. You can get there. That was my estimate. So if you have to spend 2 months to get Shane, that's what that's okay. That's a fraction of the time that you would spend getting another L plus unit. So I would highly recommend you do not get Shane. The second reason that I don't recommend that you get Shane is because you can most of the time you can only bring one DPS unit anyway, and if you have a choice between bringing Shane or Cosette, I would probably bring Cosette. She would just do more damage. You should also not overlook the fact that since she does range damage, she doesn't need to move around as much. And if you are standing still and attacking, you are doing way more DPS than moving around to dodge things more often. So that also significantly adds to the damage she does as well, not needing to move around. That lets her continuously keep attacking. So most of the time you will want to bring Shane. Sorry, not Shane. You will most of the time you'll want to bring Cosette as your DPS slot, and you don't have room to bring a second DPS. The only time you can bring a second DPS, and specifically Shane, along with Cosette, is the Dunfrost raid. But I don't recommend getting Shane just for that because you're already going to get her at 2 million account CP anyway. So therefore, I don't recommend getting Shane. So with that, we've already narrowed the choice down to either Welder or Ming. So those are the two units that you should think about getting, and I'm going to talk in detail about both of them. So Welder is right now in Arena. Welder is doing really really well. I use him a lot, and sometimes he wins games all by himself for me. Sometimes because he's the last one standing, and he revives and he does his AOE, and everyone dies. And also with his survivability because of his immortal buff that he casts on himself, he has a lot of lasting power. However, in the future, I think he's going to be used not as much, and I also think he won't be as effective. One of the reasons for that is because of a new unit coming out called Ace. I think he's going to come in 1.5 months. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm assuming. And one of the things with Ace is that one of his skills is just flat out better than Valder's. So Welder initiates with the skill, Forced Bind, where he pulls all the targets towards them and stuns them. This has an available distance of 8 meters. Now Ace can do the same thing, except it has an available distance of 20 meters. So as you can see, he will get this skill off before Welder does, and once he does that and you stun him or whatever he does, you already lost the momentum. So if it's like a team fight where you only have Welder plus 3 units and he has Ace plus 3 units, he'll probably win because of the longer distance on his pull compared to Welder's 8-meter pull. So because of that, a lot of people, when Ace comes, they will actually completely replace Welder with Ace. It doesn't mean that Welder actually got weaker. It just means that there's a unit that does his job even better. So that's the reason why he stops being used as much. That's what happened in Korea. Um, so right now he's good, and until Ace comes, he will still be good. But once Ace comes, you will find that you're not really using him often in arena. He might still be used in things like guild raids because you need to bring three different teams, so you can still use him there. But his viability in PvP will go down significantly, and you will also find that you're just not winning battles with him when you're fighting against players that have Ace. Um, but there is still, things like places that I like to use him. He is usable in some PvP scenarios, like things like when I'm fighting the dragons for the guild raids. I like using him, and I really like his damage immunity skill. And if I have a fast enough cooldown on him, I can just get him to survive with that skill. And so I feel like he is usable in some PvE scenarios, but it's a very limited role. But I've been able to use him as an off tank because of his damage immunity and just give him a very high cooldown. And with that, he does a significant amount of damage because of his brand. It says that it does not apply to boss monsters, but I've landed it successfully on boss monsters. So I think that was just a glitch with the wording there. I still see it being applied, and I still see him doing big damage to the bosses. So that's all I can really say about Wilder. Like he is really good right now, but he will get worse as time goes on. And the other thing about him is that his stuns and his knockdowns. Does he have knockdown? No, he has stuns. So his stuns become less viable as we go on as well now because of the new what's it called? Divinity, which reduces the duration of these stuns. So you have to he gets worse off as we go on, and that kind of happens with most heroes except for Cosette, which is why I keep telling everyone to get Cosette. So while he is good, he is going to fall off. So between the two, between Welder and Ming, I think Ming comes out on top. I will get into the reasons why in a bit, but I first of all wanted to cover the reasons why I think Welder is probably not the pick that you should go for. And there's one last thing that I want to say about the two of them as well. When it comes to their proficiencies and their codex buff, Welder gives a lot of HP stats, right? Like he gives, what is that, 200, 300, like about 600 HP, whereas Ming gives attack codex buff, which I think is better. So she gives around 120, I think, 120 attack. So I would usually prefer 120 attack over 600 HP. So when it comes to codex buffs as well, I think Ming comes out on top. Now, what's so good about Ming? So she is similar to Aline Fodina, and Aline Fodina is basically known as the queen of PvP. She does a lot of stuns, she does a lot of AoE stuns. Ming does that job even better because her first skill that she will charge with, it has the same range as Fodina. It has 6 meters around the target, but it has a higher chance of stunning than Fodina. Fodina only has a 40% chance of shocking the target. Ming gets a 60% chance of shocking the target, and she gets to use this skill twice. And on top of this, as she's charging, she's also unstoppable. So if you're up against an enemy and the enemy somehow manages to use Fodina's shock at the same time that you're using stun, even if the shock lands, she will be immune to being disabled while she's charging and using the skill. Now, Fodina doesn't have that. When Fodina is charging, she doesn't have unstoppable. So while she's charging, if she gets stunned or stopped or something, she will stop using her skill midway, and you have to wait for the duration of the effect to wear off before you can use her. But with Ming, she has unstoppable. She has she actually has even a higher range. Like she can cast the skill with the distance of 8 meters compared to Fodina, who only has a 6-meter leap. So she has a longer range, she has a higher chance of landing the stun, and she is unstoppable. And again, she can use this twice. She also has a buff removal skill as well, which is, if you've been in Arena, you know that how important that is because everybody has these immortal accessories now and immortal effects like Spike and Chris Plus. So removing buffs is also a huge part of Arena right now, and Fodina has absolutely no way of doing that. Fodina is good for shocking the targets continuously and keeping them shocked and keeping them CC'd, where Ming can do two things. She can stun them, which is the same as Fudina, but a much better chance, a better skill. And on top of that, she can also remove the enemy's buffs. So if I had a choice between using one of the two, and nowadays I have that choice, I can't bring both of them. In the early days I could bring both, but now I just don't have the slots to fit both of them in. So I always prefer Ming, because whatever Furina can do, Ming just does better. So that's the reason why I think Ming is great. She also has this skill as well, and as we get into more of like defensive stats, we all fill up our codexes. We get higher defenses on all our gear, and the meta starts going towards like these tank teams. These tanks might start getting off their ultimates, right? Like the battles might become long enough that enemies want to use their ultimates often, and so Ming has this skill which is going to charge her ultimate faster, decrease the enemy's ultimate, and if she gets her ultimate off, the enemies almost have like very little chance of actually getting their ultimate, because their ultimate skill gauge has been decreased by like 81%, and it's been decreasing the entire fight because of her attacks already anyway. So all around, she's a very good unit, and she has way more lasting power than Valder, because like she's just around longer. She doesn't fall off as quickly. And to be clear, Valder doesn't fall off. As I mentioned, it's just that somebody else completely replaces him. It's not that he gets weaker. He's just being replaced by someone who does the job better. And maybe Ming might eventually be replaced as well, but that's not going to be for a while. And so of the two, I recommend Ming to most players. And as I mentioned already, the icing on the cake is that her codex buff is attack instead of HP, and that's just better all around. So that's really all the information I can provide about this. I'm just gonna summarize what I said. So if you don't have Cosette, you should get Cosette. If you have Cosette, I highly recommend getting Ming. You can get Welder as well if that's your style. Like if you think that you will have more fun playing Welder, if you are looking for maybe a short-term kind of arena thing, Welder's okay, because he does perform well right now, and he also has some PvE uses as well. But eventually he'll get replaced by Ace. If you are using Welder against an enemy who's using Ace, most likely you'll lose. Shane, while she is good, she is being given to you for free at the 2 million account CP, and most of the time you can only bring one DPS unit anyway, so you will be most of the time bringing Cosette instead of Shane. So therefore I don't recommend getting Shane at all. So I hope that is clear. Those are my opinions. If you disagree with me, feel free to write your opinions and your comments in the in the comment section. And I'm sure if other players are wondering, if they have disagreements as well, they can look at your comments and see your thought process, and maybe it'll help them to make a decision. But this is what I recommend, and I hope that it helps you to make a decision as well. And that's it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Take care now.